Oh, yeah, what is going on, my clinical marketers? Hope everyone is having a fantastic Wednesday and your week is off to a great start. And you're ready to learn some stuff here today. As always, here in the Cash Physical Therapy Headquarters Facebook group, we bring special guests in here to share what is working in the trenches of Cash Physical Therapy, to drop some knowledge on you. And as always, share the good, the bad, and the ugly of what it takes to be a successful cash physical therapy entrepreneur. So if you're brand new to this group, first of all, welcome to the family. Inside, we share every single thing that is working without holding anything back. We share all of the secrets that are working in our own practice right now, because at the end of the day, we don't sell information. Our programs are all based off of community, about accountability, and about structure. And so if there's any questions you have, any resources that you're looking for that'll help advance you inside of your career, inside of your entrepreneurial journey, just ask. We'll make sure we get them over to you. Today, we have something extra special for you. We got one of my good friends, Chris Beavers over here, who's been having massive success in his practice. He's a systems fanatic, and he's been able to get his practice to the point where he's not only doubled his practice's volume in a pretty short amount of time, he's also built it in such a way that it's been able to free up his time, where he's now only seeing 5 patients a week. He's given himself the space and the capacity to be able to work on an online business. Now, if you're in here and you want to own a practice and an online business to get your time back, drop a me in the comments. And he's been able to do all this in a really short amount of time and serve our clients at a really, really high level with their front office. And so today, I'm going to pull back the curtain on his story, how he got started, what those initial struggles looked like, how we got over those things, and hopefully, if I can convince him to, or if all of us can convince him to, get him to share some of his secrets on front desk mastery and how to get cold leads excited to kick in your door to pay for your cash packages. So, without further ado, give my man some love in the comments. If you're here live, comment live, or catching the replay, comment replay. It's the only thing we ask. We teach you guys so much stuff for free. Just drop a like, drop a comment, say hi, say what's up. We're friendly. We won't bite. Chris, what's going on, man?
Dude, what's happening, brother? Thanks for having me on, man. Glad to come in and hopefully share some knowledge today. And yeah, dude, I'm stoked to be here.
Heck yeah, dude. Yeah, thanks for taking the time. As always, that you have so many things that you could be doing, and so we are all blessed and thankful to have you here today. So, as I always start these interviews, everyone, it's really easy to look at someone who is doing really good and be like, of course they're doing good, because they can't see the struggle, all the stuff that happened behind the scenes that would make them realize that really you're not a whole lot different than a lot of people inside of this community. So would you mind giving us a little bit of background and context into who you are, what it is you do, and how long you've been in business?
Yeah, man, for sure. It's been a long and fun but challenging journey along the way. I'm a husband, I'm a dad to two little dudes. I've got a 3-year-old and a 4-month-old. So life is crazy. Plus, among running 2 businesses, so it's been a fun journey. But yeah, I started my cash practice 4 years ago, fall of 2019. Kind of went side hustle mode initially. Launched full time into my business. Quit my part-time job. My wife and I found out we were expecting our first son, which was crazy. Quit my job and then went full time into my cash practice in January of 20. And we all know what happened in 2020. It's kind of crazy, right? Thankfully, we were in a place that wasn't shut down for a long period of time. And but yeah, it was nice to spend a little time away from the business at that point and hanging out with my wife. And yeah, dude. And then we just kind of kept growing after that, right? And kind of looking to like all of you guys, right? Which is, hey, I want to get my practice a little bit bigger. And I was doing that by hustling hard, man. Like I had been a part of some other entrepreneur groups, which was, hey, let's get out, let's hit some more workshops. And, again, I had the passion and the ability to do that at that time, right? It was like, hey, the pressure's on and we got young kid coming and, you got to be able to provide for your family. And so it was like, I'm going to hustle pretty hard. And yeah, you just kind of start grinding and hitting a lot of workshops. And eventually you kind of reach a point where you're like, all right, dude, I don't want to be doing 2 or 3 freaking workshops every single Saturday morning. I'd rather be at home with my family, drinking my coffee and hanging out, my PJs or something, right? So, yeah, it was a fun journey. And then we kind of continued to grow and scale. And we had a little bit of an interesting journey. I don't even know if you know this full story, but me and my now business partner Ross actually merged our practice about 2 years into business. So we were classmates at Belmont, and had the same kind of systems, processes, businesses, literally the exact same stage of kind of revenue, visits. It was kind of wild. It was kind of freaky, right? Went to church together, good dudes. And we kind of just started talking. We were helping each other in the background, and we spent about 6 months, just kind of fleshing out that process of what it looked like to merge a cash practice. And that's actually what we did. We merged our practice because ultimately we thought it would help us grow faster. And ultimately it came down to one thing and one thing only, and that was the fact that Ross has some gifts that I don't have. Right, Ross is really good at design and like social creation, like website stuff, the way stuff looks, and he's a really good visionary, right? Versus me, I'm a little bit more of an integrator, right? I can look at things and I'm just going to grind and get things done, right? And we took a lot of business tests to determine that we had a lot of complementary skill sets. And so some of you guys will jump into like a partnership with your buddy from PT school because you're scared to do it on your own, and that wasn't where we came from, and neither one of us were in a financial difficult place. It was, hey, this is going to help us grow faster, and that's what it did, right? And ultimately, we were able to kind of grow and scale up, and that kind of helped us continue to grow. We obviously were hustling pretty hard. Now we had double the manpower to do a lot of workshops, and that's kind of what we were doing to scale our practice, obviously, until we met you guys. And then also in the background of all this, my wife was kind of helping me with some admin stuff, and that kind of started our admin business's journey as well. So 2 businesses in one is crazy, man. Wild.
That was one heck of a really good recap. Very thorough from like where you started, where you got here. And I got to agree on the partner thing. I don't want to go too deep into this, but having been down the road of so many bad partnerships, if you are just starting your practice, yes, having a partner is the best thing in the world when you have the right partner that complements your skills. But if you make a partnership out of fear, I've never heard of that ever working out in a good way ever. And so don't make partnerships out of fear. As he said, if you're an integrator, find someone who's a visionary. If you're a visionary, find an integrator. I'm a visionary. If I didn't have Max, I would be so screwed. Okay. I need someone to filter the ideas and help me execute on all this stuff. So I'm glad you brought that up. Now, you obviously, like so many others, started out doing the grassroots hustle style of practice growth. And there's a really, really good, argument for doing that, because it chips away at the rough edges that you need to get rid of in order to become great and in order to become a great practice owner. But having done that way and having come over to the way that we kind of do things, I'm curious, would you do anything different when you were initially getting started?
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, dude, I can't tell you how many workshops we did, and like how many like unfruitful like meetings I had with people. Like, don't get me wrong, like some of that stuff still pays dividends today.
Right.
But again, like even now, I've had relationships that I developed early on, and like those coaches have left and moved on, right? And so now my like in with that gym is like completely gone, and it was kind of fruitless, right?
Yeah.
Versus like it was just a lot of like hustle on might, right? And like versus now what we do as business owner, like as I own my cash practice, is like I want to work smarter, not harder, right? And that's kind of obviously where we met you guys, and we kind of got to the stage of the business where you're like, dude, I'm tired of doing workshops. I don't like, this is just, sometimes they're fruitful, sometimes they're not. I've dipped in this well 4, 5, 6 times at the same gym, and like it's becoming less and less fruitful, right? Yeah. And so again, I didn't have any predictability in the new patients I had coming in, and I needed a channel to create predictability. And I think that's where something like Facebook ads and SEO and some of this other stuff can be huge in helping you grow your practice, right? Because instead of you having a singular channel to generate new clients, now suddenly I've got 3, 4, 5, 6 ways that clients find us and come into our clinic now. And that's good peace of mind, right? And I wish I would have had that piece early on instead of my revenue and consistency being swung all over the place. I mean, I've got consistency now, and that's good peace of mind as a business owner. Yeah. And I think so many people don't have that peace of mind because they're just stuck. Like they take a vacation, like, shoot, I couldn't do any workshops or the summer hits. And like
Right.
nobody wants to do a workshop during the summer. Nobody's going to show up. They're traveling, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
those Saturday morning workshops that used to be a massive hit, they're no longer a hit, right? And so
Mhm.
that was, in hindsight, like I wish I would have started that stuff earlier, right? And I think so many
Yeah.
business owners are scared to run Facebook ads or do some other digital marketing type stuff. Dude, start that crap earlier than you think. That can be huge for growth of your practice, and it was us.
Right. And just be clear for everyone watching, it's like it's not one or the other. Like you need to be doing both in order to win today. You need to be smashing both the digital and the in-person stuff that's out there. But yeah, it's sad that so many people wait and struggle for so long before they're like, okay, maybe I'll give this a shot. And so how deep in the game were you before you decided that I'm gonna give digital marketing a shot?
Yeah, dude. I mean, we were 2.5 years into it at that point, right? So
Wow.
we had two other staff members who were kind of part-time with us, the pelvic floor PT and another PT whose schedules just weren't full, and like here we are, we're sitting here wondering like, how do I get these people's schedule filled and keep it filled, right? And that was the issue that we were running into. It was like, they're expressing their concerns with workshops either not hitting or, the
Yeah.
fatigue that's kind of kicking in of like, dude, we've done 3 events this month. Like, I'm kind of tired, and I was
Yeah.
feeling that as well. So, I mean, here we are 2.5 years in hustling, and now we've got staff members who are feeling a little weight of it too. And I'm like, we got to get something else on board to fill these people's schedules up.
Wow. And so when you're doing that, were you still the one doing all the workshops or were you having the staff doing them too?
It was a combo, right? Like,
Yeah.
especially early on, still a little green. It's like, well, I got to support them and obviously be in the trenches a little bit too. But it's like, still, man, yeah, it was a two. We were both after it, but dude, workshop late at night, until 6 or 7 o'clock on the middle of the week. Sometimes on a Saturday too. You're like, dude,
Yeah.
I'm over it.
Yeah. If you feel that, drop me in the comments because I know a lot of people do where they're spending their weekends, their late nights networking rather than doing the things that their significant other wants them to do or that their kids want them to do or what they want to do. It's a tough spot to be in, but there is something to be said about going through the crucible a little bit, getting the chip on your shoulder and earning the success. I think that is important, but you can also work smart at the same time and stack the deck in your favor a little bit with these ads. So where were you? It sounds like you were kind of stuck. You're stuck in the kind of like feast or famine cycle for a little bit. Like, where were you seeing that you were kind of capping yourself out when you and your team were all contributing towards these workshops? And it sounds like you honestly were crushing it. The effectiveness of it maybe wasn't the issue, but maybe just the burnout of it was. So where were you seeing that was getting you to?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we were hovering anywhere between, 15 and 20K at our highest, right? And it just wasn't consistent. That was the
Yeah.
issue, right? Like, some of that was, hey, we'd do a workshop and it would hit really, really well. And that would feed us for a month or two. And then we'd hit another one, right? We'd go back to the same gym for the third or fourth time to do injury screens or, a workshop. And it's like, man, we've seen this song or dance. I think I'm good, and or the gym owner doesn't market it well, right? Like that's probably the big mistake is like,
Mhm.
oh,
Yeah.
hey, workshop coming up. And they're like, oh yeah, dang, I forgot about that. Oh yeah, by the way, we're got a workshop right now, and it's like, come on, man,
Yeah.
like, killing me. And I think that's kind of where we just continue to find ourselves capped out, and I'm a little bit frustrated of how we get through that. And some of that too is like bolstering up like retention, right? Like I think that was the other big thing for these new staff
Yeah.
members. It's like, how do I maintain these people for an entire plan of care? And again, I was finding that on average, I'm seeing clients, 10 sessions, right? And then my other PTs only seeing them for 4, right? It's like, hey, they're not finishing a plan of care. And so I think that was the other big side of this. Again, we all want this like be a perfect magic bullet in business, but it's doing so many things over and over and over again and making it more and more efficient. Like that's the biggest key and thing I've learned over this period is like, it's all the little gears and just be more efficient, right? 5% here, 5% here. And then suddenly that makes a big sizable impact.
Yeah, literally just chopping wood and hoping you're chopping the right block of wood at the right time. It's half guessing, half just doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Over again. Instantly.
I love it. I want to go into the retention piece because that is a wildly overlooked concept that a lot of people don't talk about. And it's like everyone's so focused on the shiny thing of acquisition that they never consider. It's like, holy crap, I could just get people to stick around twice as long, and then I don't need to spend like as nearly as much on or time or money on marketing. So once you came, you're obviously stuck around the 15 to 20 mark. What did you see happen? And not just in like a revenue and like lead flow perspective once you started doing digital marketing, but I'm curious if there are other ways that having that kind of impacted your team, your practice, yourself. Where did the digital marketing take you?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, really, yeah, it definitely increased our total volume, right? I think that was one of the biggest things that started happening. And consistent volume, right? It wasn't, consistent, and total volume definitely came up. Like that was the biggest thing, right? I mean, I think we did like 20K with you guys in the first like 60 days. Like it was crazy. Like we were, it was a ton of revenue that came in very, very quickly, right? And it was awesome, right? And that provided some stability at the top end of the year, as you're coming out of the holidays. I think we joined you guys in like January. So here we are, late January, February, really starting the year strong. And, now suddenly revenue's coming up. And then it was like, all right, now let's really hammer this retention point, right? And so again, it was not only am I getting these people in the door, but how do I get my staff, and myself, right, to hang on to these people, not only for a plan of care, but also some continuity type stuff. And that's where I think that return on ad spend and just the growth of your practice is going to accelerate. Like everyone kind of mentioned that to me early on. Hey, you need some continuity program. Like, hey, I guarantee if we ask anybody in here right now, they would say, yeah, I know I need a continuity program. But again, here we are 4 years in, still trying to kind of perfect that. I mean, it's like one of the biggest reasons we joined y'all's mastermind is like you got guys who are doing, still triple and quadruple what we're doing because they're crushing continuity, right? And it's like, dang, like this is where the wheels start turning, and like that's the big thing. So yeah, our lead flow increased. Great. Now, how do I maximize that relationship with that client who just came in the door and do a really bang up good job with them and serve them well?
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. And you've done exceptionally well. Like there's a lot of people that require a lot of hand holding and guidance for them to learn the systems for, converting leads into patients, and especially excited patients to get them to stick around. So there's two sides of that that I know people in here would be really interested in learning more about the process. So you've obviously had a tremendous amount of success, not only implementing what we taught you for converting leads into evals into packages, but you've innovated on it pretty substantially, and you've done an incredible job. And as I mentioned, you're obviously working with a lot of our clients doing remote admin work for them to book these leads into patients, and you've been doing a great job. So do you have a few tips or secrets or anything that you could teach us that would help people who are listening right now convert more of their leads or their phone calls into booked patients?
Yeah, for sure. So we run a virtual admin business as well. We basically train admins and employ them for practices kind of all across the country. And I listened to more admin phone calls than I'd probably guess about anybody. Like literally every admin we plug in, I'm auditing the crap out of their phone calls and role playing with them a lot. And so I've learned and heard a lot of things and learned a lot of hard lessons, even in my own practice. And then obviously with our clients kind of across the country too. But it starts with that first phone call, right? I think that's the biggest thing. A lot of people want to be really cheap with the person that they hire as their admin. They're like, hey, I'm going to hire my spouse because I'm a little busy. And it's funny I say that because I hired my wife early on, right? Because I thought it's a good idea. But she expressed to me early on, hey, I want to get out of teaching. She was teaching at the time. Hey, I want to get out of teaching. And maybe some admin stuff would be perfect. And I think it's the only way it works, right? Not, hey, my wife works a full-time job and she's going to make a phone call here or there for me. Like it just doesn't work that way, right?
That's so the personality type too for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Teachers, great personality type for that.
For sure. So, it worked out, but like, don't be cheap with like hiring your admin. I think that's the biggest thing. They're not going to be invested in helping you grow, and that's the front line of your business. And if they're not doing a good job on phone calls, like, again, now you're not converting leads, and that's just, you're spending more money on ads, and that's just a really expensive process. Like, we actually had an admin in my practice, had some like life circumstances that kind of came up, and like her conversion rates were just plummeting, right? And so again, she just wasn't invested anymore, and that's what it came down to. And we had to make the hard decision, and she even agreed, right? Like, she just didn't have the bandwidth to do it, and she was kind of filling in for us part time, and we tried to be early on to make that happen, and it cost us a lot of money. Like, my like return on ad spend dropped to as low as like we got $2 back for every dollar we spent. We hired another admin who started doing a bang up job, and suddenly that became 6, 7, 8 times, right? And it's like, don't be cheap here, because that's going to cost you a lot of money in the long run. Like, there's no telling how much money we lost over the course of 4 to 6 months because of that. Right. So that's the big thing. Don't be cheap. And then literally, like, I think the other big thing is you have to own the process yourself, right? Like, have you really spent time with your sales script? Have you really like understood like your client avatar's biggest like pain points, right? Like, if they're a CrossFitter, like, you need to be in a freaking CrossFit gym and understanding the things that they struggle with, right? And that's going to help you be able to train that to somebody else. And I'll be honest, I think training an admin is harder than training a PT in many cases, because the PT can use their skill set or a test retest in the clinic, or they can do a joint manipulation real quick and suddenly that person feels better. But nobody likes talking to your admin on the phone who doesn't, like, again, like, they've got to be able to really follow the script and make them feel warm and fuzzy and get to the bottom of their root cause of their problem on the phone, and then be like, oh yeah, by the way, it's $225 for the eval. And they're like, excuse me, like, you don't own that process and then adequately teach your admin how to do that, like, they're going to have a hard time converting, and it's going to cost you a lot of time, effort, and energy on the back end.
100%. I mean, having a good admin's the difference between having like a practice that's like breaking even and maybe like doing like 10K and scaling to being able to do like 50 plus K per month. It's crazy when I find out that people have like, I'm paying someone to just do some administrative stuff for me for like $10 an hour or something. I'm like, that's the front end of your business. It's like, it's insane. You don't want the first impression to be the cheapest person you could find.
Yep, absolutely. Right. Like, you got to have somebody's personality, right? Somebody that's going to be able to, carry a conversation and really get to the root cause of their problem on the phone with them. Right. And that's the key to it is own the process, and then really help them, get bought in and, buy into the process and buy into your clinic, which is huge.
Nice. I think sage advice. I think that people need that reframe where it's like, that is the most important position in your practice, not the least. It's very important. Now, for those people, now that that seed is planted, the people who are trying to develop those skills so that when they do bring someone on, they are properly equipped to lead them instead of manage them, lead them. What is something tactically that people could take that who are having inbound leads, whether that are webinar or workshop signups, whether those are Facebook ads or any sort of ads that might be running, what sort of process tip could you give someone to help them maximize their likelihood of getting a hold of leads or converting leads? Give us like one tip.
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing in like converting someone, right, like on the phone or even at a workshop, is like try to really step into that person that's sitting across from you or on the phone from you. Try to step into their shoes and really understand from A to Z exactly what's going on in their life. Like, you should be able to hang up the phone or walk away from that person in front of you, and you need to understand not only their physical pain, but exactly what the heck is going on and why the heck they want to fix this problem. Because it's not knee pain that is causing them to reach out. And you need to be able to step in their shoes and understand the nitty gritty detail, not this surface level crap of, oh, hey, how you doing? Well, I'm not doing great. My knee hurts, right? Like, that's not going to cut it. And so you need to be able to really, in nitty gritty detail, understand exactly what they want to get back to doing. And I'm talking in detail, right? How many days a week do they like to work out? Oh, they like to work out 5 days a week. Well, how many days a week are you working out right now? I'm only working out 3 times a week. Well, that's a big discrepancy, right? And that's why they're going to come see you. but then also trying to understand their biggest reason for why they work out, right? Like for me personally, my biggest why, my parents are in terrible health, right? They don't take care of
Mhm.
themselves, they don't work out in any capacity, and I overcompensate and I freaking work out like 5 or 6 days a week because of it,
Yep.
right? And so it makes me a better dad. It's my stress relief. And so for you, you need to understand and be able to step into that person's shoes, and you need to be able to emotionally connect with that person on what the heck is their deeper reason for why. And if you can do those two things, man, you're going to be absolutely freaking crushing it with everybody that sits and talks to you. Like it's going to be amazing for everybody.
Yeah. Do you think people are afraid to ask why? Like, I feel like there's some hesitation that people have with like digging deeper. Do you have any insight or guidance for someone who's like they just feel awkward trying to find that root why?
Yeah, I was that guy, right? When I first started, like, I was like, man, this sales script that I just learned, they ask why a lot, and I don't understand why I'm asking that. And so I wouldn't ask it, right? And I'd get really frustrated when somebody wouldn't convert. I had an ideal client in front of me. I can remember a day when I had like three, I went and did an injury screen at a gym. I had three people sign up for evaluations, and I had all three of them tell me no on buying a package. And I was pissed. I was
Yeah.
like, these were ideal clients. I don't understand why I missed. And a lot of that came back to my own insecurity, thinking that they didn't want to share some of that information with me. When in all reality is like these people want you to understand all of that stuff, right? And so again, I think those of you that are scared to go to that, I think it's the kind of the American culture, right? We're very superficial, and none of us have any really solid relationships with people. And so I think the key is like, hey, maybe you just get out and get vulnerable with somebody, be it a girlfriend or a spouse or even another like buddy. I think guys especially have a hard time like emotionally connecting with people. But
Yeah.
again, you're going to continue to be stifled on the phone and in the clinic. And so it's either one of two things. You either learn this skill set to be able to sell to somebody and emotionally connect with them, or you're going to be really frustrated and have a hard time converting folks. And so I think for you, shoot, I don't know, read some sales psychology stuff, like freaking look yourself in the mirror and do some role playing that way, or role play with a significant other, and like just ask those questions or ask them out loud over and over. And then I think I thought I sounded weird by asking why over and over. So I started finding different ways to ask that question. So for example, patients like, hey, I like to work out a lot, and you just spent the last 5 minutes talking to them about working out on the phone. And it's like, hey, man, like we've talked a lot about like working out and like, your workout habits, like, like why do you like working out that much? And just start going down the rabbit hole of like, how long have you worked out? And like now you start doing that, and that person feels good. Now they're just volunteering the information. Well, I've been running for several years now at this point, and honestly, I just do it because it helps me keep my weight off, and wow, that's awesome. Well, how much weight have you lost? Man, I've lost 60 pounds. Like, dude, that's incredible. And so now it's much more natural as opposed to, well, why is that important to you? And I think some people are scared to do that because they think they sound weird. But if work comes to work, man, just ask why until you get better at it. And once you get better at it, then you can kind of make it a really natural flowing conversation. So
100%. 100%. And I think a lot of people don't realize it's like people buy not based off of like what you said, but by the quality of the questions you asked. That you got them to think about something in like a different way, like a question they haven't asked themselves or what any other clinician asked them about. So I agree that's so important. And you got to fight through that awkwardness initially. And the only way to do that is through reps, right?
Right, man. That's so true. And
so the other side of the coin that I know people are probably just like trying to think about is like, how do we keep patients around longer? No, so when you jumped in, you mentioned that we helped with the front end. Did you go into the books program like already having like I'm working on my client experience, or is that something that you kind of learned through our process?
No, for sure. I mean, you guys helped me a ton with that stuff, right? Like my like client onboarding process was, hey, we're on the phone. Great. You want to book an eval? Okay, you booked an eval. We'll see you then, right? And it's like my clinic was tucked away in a building behind a gym. It's like it's freaking difficult to find, right? And we didn't have any other processes like surrounding onboarding, and it was like this is again, people can't find the clinic, people not filling paperwork out. just all of these like ways. And like, I mean,
Mhm.
I've got a ton of nuggets, even from the last live event, hanging around some other guys, just about what their client experience is. And like, again, it's an ever flowing and ever adaptive thing at this point. But yeah, dude, our onboarding process was trash. Like, it didn't exist. There was not.
So because everyone's probably like, oh crap, I need a patient onboarding experience. What the hell is that? Can you give us like just a couple points of things that people should hit on when they're onboarding?
Yeah, for sure. I think the biggest thing is like you need to celebrate the fact that this person has agreed to work with you, right? And so like that's the biggest thing. Somebody just made a decision and now suddenly you need to affirm that decision, because if you told them 225, they think it's a good idea and they go home and talk to their spouse and their spouse like, "Excuse me, you're going to spend 225 to do what?" Like, again, you need to reaffirm that process. Like, again, it's like there's a book, Never Lose a Customer Again. Awesome book, right?
Mhm.
Like, Build a Bear. What do they do with all those kids when they buy a darn bear? They freaking celebrate and ring bells and all kinds of
Mhm.
things. And I'm like, you're walking down the mall and you see that kid celebrating. You're like, dude, I want to build a bear. And you drag your parents in there and spend way too much money on a stuffed bear, right? And so the same thing for you is, you need to affirm that decision that they made the best choice for their health right then and there. And then the other thing is like, make it really easy for them to show up and do the things you want them to do, right? How many times do they show up late? They don't have their paperwork filled out. They don't even know where to find the clinic. Like, that's a freaking mess, right? And so you need to be able to guide them so that life is really easy. They need to know like, hey, I'm always running on time and I need you to be here on time. So I have an hour with you. Like, you need to come comfortable in something to move in so that I can actually watch you move. Like, I don't need you showing up in dress pants and I'm trying to watch you squat. Like, I can't fix your problems that way. So, I think, and then again, most of us are tucked in a gym somewhere. How embarrassing is it that your brand new patient is trying to find you? You're charging them $1,500 for a package and they're roaming around the gym looking for you. Like,
Yeah.
that's a problem, right? They need to know exactly how to get to you. And that's going to make that person feel really good about you as a clinic. And I had somebody bring that up to me. They were like, he was a real estate guy that helped like people put together paperwork and stuff. And like, just, he was like really into that system and process. I think he owned a marketing company once upon a time. And he was like, man, it's really hard to find your documents and how to create an account. And I'm like, man, that's good feedback and kind of sobering, right? Because I thought, PT Everywhere would cover that for me. But yeah, what did we do? We created a freaking
Yeah.
video to show people how to do that, right? And so now there's not any questions asked, and my admin mentions it's on the phone. And so all this stuff
Mhm.
is pre-framed. And that was the biggest thing from a customer experience standpoint that took us from this really like young, scrappy little company that's like barely getting by to like, hey, we actually have a company now, and like we need to do things professionally and stop being goofballs who are just throwing stuff together.
Absolutely. Well, yeah. And it sounds like you have an incredible experience now. Did you say you're throwing videos in there too?
Yeah, dude, we did a time lapse on how to find the clinic. So that's one of the big
That's
things.
awesome.
Like we my Ross, who's really big on camera stuff,
Yeah.
he had a camera with a gimbal, and we literally at the street we freaking time lapse his puppy, how to find the clinic, and then you got us goofy smiling in the background waving. And
I love that. I know of we've been doing whenever people we don't do this well, we do this whenever they actually book. We don't do this with every lead, but whenever someone actually books, they're treating PT. We just have them pull up the Loom app and they just shoot like a 30 to 60-second video saying how excited they are, saying something personal about their the information we've collected so far. And that's been a killer for not just like people like it's not just about no shows. It's about the energy and the level of intent they show up to that appointment for because you did that.
right.
So I love the time lapse idea. I think that's awesome. That's actually, I haven't heard anyone doing anything like that yet. So I love that. I'll add that to the
Yeah,
little bank.
add it to the process. But yeah, and we shoot personalized text messages to folks too, right? Like, that's the other big piece. And personalized video, we've also thought about playing with that, and that we may start integrating that too. But again, constantly change it. Like, what is the feedback you're getting from folks, and freaking make your clinic better. Like, take the feedback and like quit just treating patients. Like, focus on how do I make this place a better place for my clients.
I love it, man. I love it. So you've dropped some really sage advice on partnerships with us so far. Dropped some sage advice about how to get out of the hustle and bustle of regular workshops. You talked about your sales process and how to make sure we're following up with people, how to find someone when you're ready, how to onboard our patients, and how to make sure that they're sticking around a little bit longer. You dropped some gold for us, so everyone watching, we got a whole bunch of comments climbing up this thing, so people are getting a lot of value out of it. My last question for you is, there's a lot of people who are always messaging in, interested to work with us, but they're a little afraid just because there's so many people out there. All of us sound more or less the same, but so many people have been burned so many times by folks. And so if you will, could you give a little bit of advice for the people who are on the fence about what working with us has been like and what they can kind of expect?
For sure. I'll mention this in a couple different ways. I think the biggest thing is like Jordan, Max, Ben, the whole team, like you guys have been super engaged in the entire process. And like you guys have a whole team around you now at this point as well. Like, dude, the support from you guys was incredible. Like if I had an issue with ads in any capacity, I literally would submit a ticket, jump on a phone call or jump on a Zoom call, and like Max is showing me the keys to the castle of how to fix this thing, right? Versus some even we had worked with a previous agency and it was like, I didn't know what was up from down. I'm just spending money and I have no leads coming in. I don't understand. Or leads are coming in, but they're not buying packages. Like, what's the issue, right? And so again, having that is a big piece of it. The other thing I look at when I'm looking to work with a coach is, what is their current client success, right? Like what is other people sharing? Like y'all's testimonials from folks that you guys bring on these interviews and like stuff I see you post about. I'm like, dude, that's freaking incredible. Like there's people that have gone from like, part-time side hustle for like 2 or 3 years to full-time in their business in a couple months. Like, dude, that's freaking incredible, man. Like wasn't able to do that. Right. And so I think that's the big thing. And then also look at where the people are in the upper end of some of these programs, right? Like what Ben's doing in his practice is the top of anyone else in any cash practice. Like it's the highest earning cash practice that I know. And those are the people you want to be around. Like you want proximity around people who are doing things way bigger than you. And I mean, that's why here we were like a year and a half out booked and then ultimately joined y'all's mastermind, because the same thing, right? Like there's still stuff for me to learn and I just need to be around people who are freaking crushing it. And that's the biggest thing. And then on the final piece of that, again, we got so many clients from just about every business coach out there at this point. And so I've literally seen every single other program or what they offer or what their lead flow looks like. And like what you guys are putting together is night and day different than what a lot of other folks are offering from a client standpoint. And just the value that you guys bring, not only like, I think a lot of people probably look at you guys like, oh, Facebook ads, like that's it. Right. But there's so much more to it, from a patient onboarding experience to sales, to retention. Like you guys are working on Booked 3.0. So that's going to be huge. Like, again, there's so much stuff again that you want to look at. And if you're on the fence, like if anybody were to ask me, like, again, I'm going to, tell them to come work with you guys because they're going to blow you, you're going to blow up. Right. Like there's been several people that have talked to us about wanting to hire an admin. And I'm like, dude, you're not ready. Go talk to Jordan and the crew. And like, again, then at that point they're ready because they've got predictable lead flow. And if that's what you want predictable lead flow, and you want to stop freaking just grinding on workshops all the time and wondering where your next patient's going to come from. And you're tired of running a scrappy little business that doesn't have any, systems, and you're not tracking anything, man, you guys are going to get them set up and get them taken off in the right direction, man. So,
dude,
thank you to you guys for helping us out as well.
Thank you. That was incredible, man. And really, really, really appreciate it. And obviously you and everyone like you that just has the tenacity of like just deciding like you're going to make this work and you're going to be coachable and you're going to learn and you're going to execute and take action on it. I mean, you especially, you made our jobs extremely, extremely easy. So I appreciate all the kind words. I appreciate you as a client, as a friend. Now that we got to hang out at the live events. And are you coming to the mastermind in November?
Yeah, man, we're coming.
Let's go, dude. Right. So, closing notes. Anyone who is watching this, if you have any questions about marketing, about onboarding, patient experience, front office admin work, or how to retain your patients longer, if you have any interest in learning more and diving deeper on any of the topics that Chris and I here have talked about here today, just drop a comment below. We're more than happy to follow up, answer any questions in the comments. Chris, if anyone wants to get a hold of you about and the things that you're doing with virtual admins and helping people grow their businesses and hand off their front end sales, how can the best get a hold of you?
Yeah, for sure. You can shoot me a DM on Facebook. You can also shoot me an email, chris@virtualrefreshcode.com. Either one of those are options. But yeah, shoot me a DM. I'd love to carry a conversation with you. And even if you're curious about working with these guys, I'm more than happy to share my experience and even our clients' experience as well. And yeah, we'd be happy to help answer any questions. And even if you got admin issues with your current admin, I'll be happy to help see if we can poke some holes in that and get it polished up for you.
Yeah, who'll get them whipped right into shape. Guys, we got value out today. Drop value. We love knowing the things that we teach are valuable and helping and supporting all of you. So drop value if you got value out of this. Otherwise, everyone have a fantastic rest of your week. Let us know if there's anything we can do to serve you, and we'll see you next time. Later.